Could we change people's experiences with popularity? And could we fundamentally change the way that they interact with people just with one tiny manipulation? When the media contacted me, they wanted to do a news magazine, asked me if I would do a show about popularity with them. They set me up in a daycare center about an hour outside of Manhattan, and they asked me to go in and to see if I could measure the popularity of 3-year-olds. And what they were interested in seeing was a classic study, see if I can replicate it. Would there be a way when kids are popular or not, is that really just based on which class they're in? Does it matter what school they're in? Maybe if you take a kid who's really popular and you move them to a different class or a different school, they get a fresh start. They can be popular or not popular all over again. Now, the research suggested that that might not be the case. So they asked me to replicate this. What we did was we were able to measure the popularity of each and every 3-year-old simply by talking with all of the kids in the school one at a time. Now, popularity at age 3 is not based on how many Instagram followers they have. And it's not based on, whether they have kind of like a tricked out big wheel that they ride around the sandbox or anything. Popularity at age 3 is the same as one of the kinds of popularity that carries on all the way into adulthood and becomes especially relevant all over again in elderly retirement homes. It's popularity that's based on likability. So we asked every kid there, tell me who are the kids that you like the most. Tell me who are the kids that you like the least. And of course they couldn't read, so they simply looked at a picture. And they gave us that information. Which were the kids that were the most accepted? Which were the kids that were the most rejected? And everyone in between. And we were able to make an ordering of exactly how popular each kid was based on their likability. Then we scrambled all the kids. And because they were 3, they didn't have any history with one another. This was the first year for daycare in that facility. So the kids who were accepted were suddenly hanging out with other kids they had never met before. The kids who were rejected were hanging out with a brand new batch of peers. And they asked us to come in week after week and to see whether these kids would again emerge as being popular, liked, or whether the new kids gave them a fresh start. Well, we played with those kids for a little while, and we were in fact able to replicate the research. It took under 3 hours. The kids who were the most likable became the most likable all over again with these brand new kids they had never met before. And the kids who were disliked immediately became disliked in a span of less than an afternoon. What we find is that those who are the most likable are invited to be a part of more activities. At the childhood level, we see that these are folks who are more likely to get invited to birthday parties and play dates and to be asked to volunteer for other kinds of clubs. Well, if you think about that, the 3-year-old or the 13-year-old who gets those opportunities, every one of those experiences gives them the chance to learn a specific skill. When you go to a play date, you're learning more how to share, how to resolve conflicts, how to interact with a great deal of emotion that comes up while you're playing in a rambunctious way. With each of those opportunities, it leads to a skill. This also happens for adults. Every member in a company who is well-liked that gets invited to be on more teams, that gets invited to talk with people after work, they learn more about the corporate politics. They learn more about the things that play a role in that workplace environment. And with every of those opportunities, they gain more skills. Well, those skills lead them to become more likable. That child who knows how to share and emotionally regulate and interact with their peers is all the more likable as a result. And this begins to snowball over years and years and years. And this is why these kids do so well. The kids who are not very well liked, they are not only not getting the opportunity to go to the average number of playdates or birthday parties, they're actually deprived and they're getting less opportunities. So when everyone else has learned what to do if you get 2 conflicting birthday parties or how to handle a situation when 2 people want you to play at once, these kids unfortunately have never gotten that opportunity. So when the time comes for them to use that skill, they don't have it. That makes them only more disliked, and their spiral is unfortunately much sadder. I was really interested in just exactly how that might work. So what I did was, in my class over the years, I've designed an experiment that we do. I want to see whether we can understand that cascading effect that might happen in a single day. Could we change people's experiences with popularity? And could we fundamentally change the way that they interact with people just with one tiny manipulation? So what we did was we asked everyone in the class to design a t-shirt. We wanted it to be a loud, ridiculous, tongue-in-cheek t-shirt. So we picked a color that hurts your eyes if you look at it with the sun reflecting off of it. We picked a saying that the kids picked that they thought would get them a lot of attention on campus, and people would find it funny and tongue-in-cheek. In this last time that we did it, we used this particular one, which DJ Khaled kind of references him. But in other years, we've picked other kinds of t-shirts that I'm the most awesome, I'm so popular, which everyone realizes is a big joke. Now, UNC Chapel Hill, in particular, has 14,000 students, and when a few hundred people are all wearing the same very, very bright t-shirt, we can guarantee that they are going to be treated differently for a day. And that's what we wanted to see. What happens if for a single day, you are getting a different kind of attention? Well, we all know that if the environment treats you in a certain way, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect how you feel about yourself. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you might not be feeling very good about things or about the world, as you pull into your parking spot. That's not what we are interested in looking at. What we are interested in looking at is how, when the environment changes you, how does that elicit new behaviors and feelings back out of you to change the environment reciprocally? So what we did is we asked these kids to keep track of exactly what they thought, what they felt, what experiences they had, what social kinds of interactions occurred on a regular day when they wore just their regular ordinary t-shirts. And then all of us, myself included, wore the very loud, obnoxious, tongue-in-cheek t-shirt on campus and got lots of attention. People come running up to us, ask us, "What's that for? Oh, that's kind of funny." And they get a lot of attention. And sure enough, when students in my class are asked to write about it, they say, yes, more people came and talked to me. People were nice to me. People joked with me. In other words, people treated them as if they were pretty likable. The thing that was surprising is how much kids said, I can't believe how much just that little bit of a change in how the environment treated me changed me. The kids who spent all day walking across campus staring down at their phones looked up, waved, said hello to people, met strangers. The people who were in classes and never raised their hand would raise their hand. They felt smarter. They felt more competent. They felt bolder. Kids told me that they ended up asking out people they had crushes on for weeks. They made friendships. They exchanged more social media information with one another, and those relationships lasted for weeks and months after the experiment. They told me that simply being treated so nicely for a day brought out a side of them that they had never seen before. When that happened, the environment met them where they were. As they were more bold and happy, people treated them more happily and with more energy and enthusiasm, and it spiraled for them in just the course of one day. One of the kids said, if I wore that t-shirt, metaphorically, every day from my childhood, I would be a completely different human being today. And you know something? He's right. That's what the research is telling us. I think it's really important to recognize that the person that you were back in adolescence as a parent is still affecting you today. The reason why is because that development of our adult brain that was occurring when we were adolescents used those formative experiences with popularity to serve as a filter or a template. It changed the way that we interacted with people from then on. And that filter or template is continuing to influence the way that you see every social interaction every minute of every day.